Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. Time for the daily video. We've got some interesting setups. Let's talk about them. You can see it's been a pretty boring day in the market. Nothing really has moved much at all today. You're going to see on the charts that it's been pretty choppy, but we still have some very good levels to work with. So far, Dow and S&P are down just a couple of points. Oil's down just a bit. Nothing, no major movement today. As far as news goes, coming up tomorrow, we're kind of past all the major news announcements today. We have the MPC meeting minutes for the UK. That is a big mover most of the time, especially if there's any changes from expectations. So keep an eye on that. That'll be at 1:30 a.m. Pacific. So just watch for that. And then a little more UK news. We've got unemployment claims coming out of the US. Um, Later on for the U.S. session. Remember that this week is kind of it's a little bit of a we got some holidays in the U.S. The U.S. is a bank holiday, will be closed all day there, and then Fridays can be a little bit slow and choppy. It's just one of those kind of holiday weeks where things probably won't do a ton. But we do have some good things to work with here. So currently, what I'm looking for, we have some pretty big resistance on this euro dollar right around 128.50 area. So that's just right in this general area. We're looking for some resistance in the halfway mark between weekly resistance 1 and weekly resistance 2, just a little bit, kind of meeting in the middle, those two resistance points, along with the 200-day moving average on this 4-hour chart, which you can see is just about 128.40. So basically I'm gunning for about 120, 128.50 is kind of the ultimate target. And one area that I think will be good to look for is, you can see that we've had a heck of a time opening above this level. So I think an open above this level, weekly resistance here with some stops down below, down below the daily pivot around 25 to 30 pips, should give us a good fair shot at 128.50. So 128.40, 128.50. We're only looking again for about 25 to 35 pips on this one. Really, it's not going to be a huge mover, but it will be something worth watching. And again, should give us a little bit of activity there. So I'm going to be looking for that. Pound dollar, just a choppy mess here. And one more thing I wanted to bring up about the euro dollar is just look at the daily chart here, and remember that on this 200-day moving average, this is one little detail I forgot here. This is going to be some pretty decent resistance as well, and you can see this is about 128.65. So that's kind of where we're getting with that resistance. I just forgot to mention that. So watch that 200-day moving average on the daily chart. Again, pound dollar is just kind of bouncing in between everything. It's really ugly and messy. I don't know anybody trading the pound dollar, and I wouldn't if I were you. So just stay out of this thing until it clears out, until it starts to trend. That'll be super important. Okay, so euro yen is still hanging in here. It's rallying like crazy. We're up above 104.30, which was a level we talked about yesterday, kind of breaking that. I think the euro yen is getting into definite overbought territory. It's testing this big trend line, the top of the channel from the weekly chart. So if we look at this right here, you can see that we've had a pretty well tested level. If it makes much more of a break, it could start a bigger rally. We never know. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But it's starting to look pretty overbought, and it's probably going to get a little bit shaky coming up here pretty soon. So a few things that we have. Remember, weekly pivots and daily pivots are usually always met. So here's our weekly pivot right here, which is around 102.90, and we have come far from, not really even come close to hitting that. So we're about 175 pips away from that. So that's a target to start looking for on the euro yen. And then we have a daily missed pivot that goes back several days. It's about 101.80. So that is where that's where things start to get a little bit interesting, is with this daily missed pivot back here and this weekly missed pivot at about 102.90, and I think we've got some good chances of the market kind of coming back and reaching those levels. So we're going to be watching for those as targets, but I don't have a solid entry yet on this euro yen. It's definitely in very bullish territory, but it's in overbought territory as well, and so this is kind of one of those better to stay out for the moment and wait for a little more clarity on that. Aussie dollar has moved very nicely. It's come down and reached our it's reached our weekly pivot point, which has worked out very well. We still have a missed daily pivot right here, which is at 103.25. So I'm just looking to see if we can get one more squeeze down out of the Aussie dollar. That's almost 60 pips away, so that would be a nice little area to shoot for on some downside movement. Overall, Aussie dollar is starting to look pretty bullish with. We have a little reversal candle off of the 200-day moving average here, and then a much larger reversal candle off the 200-day moving average and weekly pivot point. Everything's looking pretty bullish here, so we're looking for a nice continuation, at least a bit of a push up on that. We'll see what happens. There's a big reversal right there on the daily chart, and you can see that on the 4-hour and so on. It's pretty choppy. The Aussie dollar has been actually very, very choppy, but with this kind of a setup, I think we've got a bit of a bullish move in the works on this one. So look for some further upside to trading this back up above 10400. I think we've got a pretty good chance of that, especially if this candle on the 4-hour chart closes positive. So just keep an eye on that. But remember, we do also have a little gap right here that needs to be filled, and we have this missed pivot. So there's a lot of gravity down here that could be dragging the pair down. But as far as the chart goes, we've got some pretty good bullish upside that could push this pair higher as well. So let's not be too anxious to jump into the buy side of things, but let's be aware that that there's very good reasons for this to reach that 103.25 and lower, but there's also some pretty decent chart patterns telling us we could get back up above 10400 sooner than later. So let's keep our eye on that. Gold has also started to reverse a little bit on us. It took a little dive down during Bernanke's speech today. We saw this run down, and then it's just kind of been creeping back up, slowly but surely, running its way back up there. So we're going to watch that. Not too much to trade there. Aussie yen is kind of the same type of situation. It's broken some highs. The Aussie yen is pretty fair to say that it's in a pretty strong trend now. So I'm just kind of looking for some retracement. Again, we have a missed daily pivot at about 83.90, and we have our missed weekly pivot at about 83.70. So two good areas for this Aussie yen to kind of aim for in a correction. And I think we're going to get that as well. So I'm just kind of watching for those and remembering that these levels, need to be reached. We have a missed pivot back here about 3 weeks ago as well. So there's some good stuff on the downside. So these yen pairs are getting way overbought, and they're starting to encounter some weakness. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of a short-term push up, and then things should start to come down in the coming day, 2 days, 3 days, even next week. So some really good setups for that. Particularly a nice, easy euro-dollar trade coming up here and a couple of others. So we're going to keep watch of those and be ready for them. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at DayTradersFX, and I'll have more updates coming out on that. Thanks a bunch, everyone, and best of luck.